You know, I'm not that fond of this. I made this line too strong here. I think I'd like to just obliterate it. You know, maybe mix it a little. Make it more of a smooth transition. And I've, not just that, but I've gone very, very blue. A lot of ultramarine blue here in the foreground. And I'm finding that a little too distracting. The whole painting is really kind of soft in tone, and then I just jump in there and go in with this ultramarine blue that I think is it's just too strong. Too high a chroma sitting there. So we'll do that. It's broken up a little. I've put in some ultramarine blue and some yellow ochre and a bit of raw umber. I like that raw umber for toning things down sometimes. I also had kind of strong lines coming off the bottom of the trees. You know, these three were joined in a line and I had a line across here. Did away with that. I don't want all these horizontal lines on the bottom. It's a square painting. It's okay if everything just kind of gently comes down. No places to stop the eye. I'll just use color and soft line, you know, to cradle the focal area and go up into this. And maybe it's not the worst thing to leave a little bit of that ultramarine blue in there, just a hint of it here and there. But for now, I think that's an improvement. I think that's an improvement. Well, you know, I also toned down the red on this shed. I may still go a little bit darker. I might even, you know, even though I kept the door to the left-hand side of it a little bit, I may even, it's still, there's too much symmetry going on there. I may just continue the shed roof right down to the ground on the left-hand side. We'll see how that goes. I don't like symmetrical old things. I tend to want to see them asymmetrical, a little bit off kilter. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be using this brush for that. So what I'll do is I'll start with laying a few lines in right there. A little bit of raw umber and ultramarine blue. Bit of terps. I'll get the excess out of my brush. So I just have a little bit on the tip. That line's a bit weak. I'm making it too strong now, and that's okay. I can choose to fix that again later. But for the moment, we're just going to leave it at that. Yeah. Okay. Getting paint all over my fingers again here. Here, let me just All these tiny little touches. Okay, I'll clean that out of the brush. Let's grab a little bit of yellow ochre and white. Hint of raw umber. It's a little too light still. More raw umber. We'll keep it a little bit colder. I don't mind raising the value of this fascia on the cabin. It's not meant to represent snow on there. It's just the faceboard on the shed, that's all. Yeah, I think that's a little better. You know, we're still going to be eventually putting a few highlights in the snow. Not too much. As I said, so far I'm not planning on a sun poking through, you know, in the foreground. I'm going to try to keep it a soft, gentle painting, I think. I always have to say I think because I'm never sure. Change my mind so many times, it's ridiculous. There should be a law. Yeah, actually there probably is. Seeing as I live in Canada. Okay, now let's play with a couple of trees here. So say we had some snow. I don't know. I'm pushing my luck a little bit here. I might get a little too cutesy, but I'm thinking, you know, this snow isn't that old. It's not a huge accumulation, but it's fairly recent. So let's just imagine for a moment that maybe the snow ended up in a few spots here. I don't know, maybe that's silly. Maybe it's a little too much like a Christmas card. Oh, no, okay. Maybe that's enough. Hey, that doesn't really bother me. I think that's okay. Maybe that gives a bit of a cozy feeling to it. I don't know. Maybe it gives it a bit of a gauche feeling. We'll wait till the end to decide. Yes, there are many other places that I could plausibly put little bits of snow. But if you do that, I think that's getting a little carried away. Or if I do that, I should say. Okay. Now, excuse me. Let's go to these trays now. I'm going to go with raw umber, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, bit of white. These trees, like the rest of the painting, will be fairly dark. Grayish, another form of gray. How's that for a gray? Is that going to work? Yeah, that's okay. It's not exactly the gray this is. This is cobalt. The blue that I use back here is cobalt. The blue I'm using here is ultramarine. So I might even just push it a little more in the direction of the ultramarine. Make it a little bit darker. I'd like to have a little bit of design in this trunk. It's the trunk. It's the most important trunk in the painting. So I think there's no harm in giving it some attention, giving it some love. Bit of a twist, eh? Bit of a twist in that trunk. I think that's okay. Don't want to go too crazy, but there's no harm in it. Into the stump there. Okay, let's lower that. Oh, I don't want to look up. I never want to look up while I'm doing a painting. The light comes from above. The glare comes from above. If you're looking up, you're looking into the glare. You don't get a good view of what you're doing. Try to avoid that. Add a touch of white to that. sienna. A little white. We'll try to match what we have there, roughly. Roughly, I don't worry too much about being too exact. If you're too exact, then where'd your variety go? It's not a portrait. Okay, that. This branch is coming off from around the other side of the tree, so we won't worry about it. We won't worry about integrating it into the face of the tree. All right. Okay, that's all we need. An unimportant foreground tree, but enough interest, you know. Got a few lines in there. I think it looks okay. Okay, second most important tree. This one. Okay, that can be coming towards us a little bit. That's not. We'll lay this branch in. Every other tree. You know, I put the most interest in this one. I may indicate a few lines in this one. You know, like a bit of that twist look to it. Or how about this one? Just this one right there. Okay, and we'll leave that at that for that tree because we don't want to continue putting all kinds of detail in the branches as we move away from our subject, from our focal area, or from the foreground, I should say, I guess. Okay, we'll do it at the bottom a little bit too. Give it that barber pole, a little bit of a spiral. Not much. Okay. That's that. Now this one. Also, not very important. You don't just want to fill it in, you know, with gray. It's not quite like filling in a coloring book picture, but so within your structures, you kind of build your own lines as well. Okay, there's a hint of a twist as well. How's that? Becomes less and less important as we wander off into the distance here. Okay. And so on, and so on, and so on. I think I'm going to reform these a little bit back there. But let me just give you a couple of close-ups of what I've done with the trees. So I don't think I zoomed in that far while I was painting them. So we'll just... Again, time to move the camera. Editing, 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 editing. Okay. See, filling it in, but filling it in with even there a slight variation in values. Some strokes have more ultramarine, some strokes have more more burnt sienna. I think I like those little bits of snow in the crooks of the branches here and there. Yeah, I think that's going to work. Okay. Well, I'm going to say it's quite likely that the next time you see this, it'll be finished. And we will move on to something fresh. Okay, talk to you soon.